Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So we are only one day away from the official release of Stellar Blade. Now there's two reactions to this upcoming release. On the one side, you have gamers who are very excited and are ready to finally play this game. And on the other side, you have game journalists, Twitter users, and alike who are scrambling at the last minute to do everything in their power to try to demonize elements of this game to discourage people from purchasing it. We have seen this for months now, and as we reach the final day before the official release, these game journalists and Twitter users are pulling out all the stops. They're doing everything they can to demonize this game. We've seen the usual slop, and this is continued with these weird articles trying to make this game look bad, but we're seeing a new route. So we've seen a lot of people claiming that this game is for creeps and the character designs are problematic, but we're seeing a new arc here. We have Twitter users and game journalists now claiming that this game is racist. Now, this is something that would be talked about in an IGN article where they claim Sony says Stellar Blade art referencing racist language was unintentional, will be patched out. Now, what racist language are we talking about here that was worthy of an entire article by this hall monitor over at IGN? Well, brace yourselves. Here's the racist language that is causing all these issues. Did you see it yet? Yes, this is the racist language they are talking about. It is, of course, this combination of the graffiti here that says hard, and then you have this R shop. So it's the hard R if you combine them. Now, in case you don't know, that is a way people describe the N-word. They say, someone said the N-word with the hard R to describe that word. Okay, so number one, this is obviously the result of a language barrier. And this is something that was clearly unintentional. This is just a coincidence. I think any reasonable person would assume that, especially since Shift Up, the studio responsible for this, is a Korean studio. And second of all, if you are genuinely offended by this, you are not only extremely soft, you're also terminally online. Like, also, think about how this works too. The only way you even recognize the N-word possibly existing here is by thinking about it. So when these game journalists say that that's what they see immediately when they look at this, they're kind of projecting, right? And also, there is a logical explanation for this as well that a lot of these game journalists and Twitter users are actively ignoring. So in the game, there is a such thing as the R shop, which references Roxanne, and that's the shortened version, the R shop. And then the hard graffiti can be found all throughout the game. This is just a pure coincidence, once again likely the product of a language barrier. However, this did not stop IGN from making their article, of course saying Sony says Stellar Blade art referencing racist language was unintentional, will be patched out. And they say down here, the placement of two graphics near each other in Stellar Blade resulted in an unintentional, objectionable phrase. PlayStation statement read, Shift Up had no intention of creating offensive artwork and will be replacing the graffiti for the day one patch. Now, of course, you have to understand Sony loves censorship, so the fact that they're censoring this and caving into these game journalists is not surprising at all. Now, the real thing to be watching is at the day one release is whether or not they're going to censor other elements of the game, including the outfits, the character designs, and the fan service as well, because that is something that Sony is very well known for. And at the end of the day, despite the very base team over at Shift Up, they are working for Sony. So Sony probably has the final say when it comes to censorship, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. Now, of course, they fixed it. Well, did it go the way that these journalists had hoped? Well, they changed the hard to crime. So it is now crime R, or this phrase that apparently on Urban Dictionary is a slur that is directed at African American males who commit crimes. Oh, that backfired pretty horribly, I guess, but they're likely not going to change it again. This would be a very, it'd be quite the stretch for these journalists to try to claim that this is still hurting people and being so problematic by existing on that wall. But anyways, that didn't stop a lot of people from the industry from saying that this wasn't an accident. This hard R graffiti combo here was actually intentional and something that Shift Up was doing. For what reason? They don't even know. But also people are saying stuff like this about the situation. So saying this, if only there was some kind of a group you could contact to give media, sensitivity read and avoid creating work like this for yourself in the future. They are referring to DEI initiatives and companies like Sweet Baby Inc., who will help avoid these problematic situations. And as a lot of people have pointed out, how about you work on your own racism issue when it comes to these people like from Sweet Baby Inc. and all these other companies that are actually racist. And they will not be helping the situation because they can't even control their own racism. So no, these people are going to pass on your suggestion for Sweet Baby Inc. and other groups to consult with companies like Shift Up. And of course, we saw this tweet earlier. There's two elements here, right? There's the racism and there's also the fact that it appeals to creeps. And a lot of that has to do with the design of Eve and people having a problem with it and projecting about it and so on and so forth. Now, we've seen an article here by Games Radar. Oh boy, you know it's already trash. They say this in the title. Stellar Blade puts Eve in some incredibly stupid, sexy outfits that hurt the game's story, but despite the forced sex appeal, I actually love her detailed design. That's a very schizophrenic tweet. I literally don't even know where you stand. Can you just say you like the design? Why are we going through 7 different hoops here to try to say that? But you can see they're getting ratioed extremely hard. 200 likes, almost over 1,300 comments. That's not a very good ratio for this tweet, but let's see what the article's all about. So it says this. I don't want to just both sides this into mush. There's been a lot of deserved talk about the male gaze, oh god, and the part it played in how Eve looks. As someone with a lot of experience unlearning that same male gaze, oh my god. I have an editor-scaring amount of thoughts on how Stellar Blade fails Eve, why I actually like her core design, and why I expect plenty of people to feel similarly neutral way once everyone can actually play the game. To explain this, I am forced to once again break out my greatest superpower, asexuality. Holy Reddit. Man, I would give this an updo. This is an amazing superpower you have. Bravo. These are the game journalists that want you to take them seriously when they're saying stuff like their greatest superpower is their asexuality. Bro, come on. Well, it continues on with this section. She's sexy, but doesn't know it. And we'll return to this in a second. But down here it says, this article is not about me. False. Every game journalist, every article they write is about themselves, right? Everything's just narcissistic. But continuing, it says, but I should explain where I'm coming from. For me, romantic and sexual attraction are not only foreign, but utterly undesirable. So more than your average person, games like Stellar Blade bark up the wrong tree when they assume that I, as a man, am eager to gawk at and fantasize about characters like Eve. She's hot, I like her. I consider myself sex positive, but I truly, from the pit of my gut, do not care. I'm not put off by Stellar Blade's ham-handed sexiness or its assumptions about me, but I am sensitive to and critical of tone and storytelling, and Eve's treatment undeniably hurts the game's voice. Oh my lord. The fact that these people genuinely believe that an attractive design or an outfit can ruin a game is ridiculous. That is the most superficial way of looking at a game. I am sorry it is so distracting to you, who apparently is also asexual and doesn't care about these things, but I'm sorry that distracts you so much you can't even enjoy the game or it ruins the story for you somehow. Now, of course, returning to this, she's sexy but doesn't know it. This is a legitimate claim that a lot of journalists and alike are making on social media about Eve and other characters. We saw this absolute dumpster fire of a tweet from a few days ago when there was a debate on Twitter about why game journalists are so critical of Eve's design, but were totally okay with Aphrodite's design in Hades 2, where she is completely naked and only covered by strands of her own hair. And here's the thing, you have this tweet here saying this. That's because the Stellar Blade character isn't well made, has no agency, and is purposefully being made for weebs to sexualize an Asian body. The Hades characters have agency. It's in the plot that they choose to look away, and they're well made. So twice you see this user claiming that characters in a video game have agency. They genuinely believe that a character has sentience, that it has feelings, and a perspective on itself. This is insane. This is the product of Twitter and other places over and over again treating fictional characters like they're real human beings. We get to a point where legitimately people are trying to claim that fictional characters have agency and self-awareness. and that should be something that is critiqued. How these characters view themselves. They don't view themselves. They don't think anything. They don't feel anything because they're not real. I can't believe we have to say this to full-grown adults, but this is 2024, and I guess it shouldn't be surprising to any of us. Now, closing out this video, I've seen a lot of tweets this morning sharing what they claim is proof that Stellar Blade on release is being censored by Sony, in particular, the outfits and fan service. Now, this is something that has been highly contested so far, so I'm not going to report on it today because there are some claims that I think are false right now, and there's some made-up evidence. So it's kind of muddying the waters, and it's making it hard to determine what is the actual truth in this situation. But for now, I think we really should just kind of hang back and let the release come out and see if there are, in fact, some changes or censorship coming to Stellar Blade on day one. But we're going to have to see, like I said. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. And I'll see you guys next time.